Yep.
Hi, this is Sheila with Conscious Conversation Central and Tina and Jim from
Tina and Jim, she did it. We made you do it.
I know. I felt it. I felt it. I felt it. No, I honestly, I felt it. I actually felt that about an hour ago. Let me just say that. It was about an hour ago. I was in the restroom and I was thinking to myself, you know what? This is not just a Conscious Conversation Central production here. It is actually a StarDragonBrood production because you contacted me this time.
Mm-hmm.
So actually, you should have recorded this. So I said my introduction. Now you say yours.
You already did. You called us Tina and Jim.
It was so funny when we were...
Really?
Yes, you did.
She didn't even know it.
You did.
We made you do it. Before we got on this video, we said...
We were entering our name.
She was entering her name. She was, do you want me to put your name on here? And I said, well, why don't we do
Tina and Jim.
Tina and Jim, and like Sheila does. So.
Well, wait a minute. In fairness to Sheila, I'm getting ready to throw Lisa under the bus because
she started
in fairness to Sheila, I've always called you Gina. But Lisa, like, I don't know, one time or so called y'all Tina and Jim, and it just, I was like, no, oh no, and it's, so, yes, I threw you under the bus, honey. I do apologize because I've always said that a person's name is the most personal thing that they can give to a stranger, and almost everyone has no issue doing that. You know, that was before I ever woke up, and I still kind of feel the same way. Our names are very important. So Gina and Tim, please forgive me.
Just so you know that my name, I mean, my Earth name right here is Tim, but I've told her since we've known each other, I didn't feel like my real name is Tim.
He said, I don't feel like a Tim.
I don't feel like a Tim. I never have. Even since I was a kid, I never felt like a Tim.
And it's interesting because people all my life have messed up my name, the way it's spelled, what it is. So I don't have any, I'm not attached to it either.
Well, I've always had that same issue actually with names. That's so interesting because I never felt like a Sheila and I never wanted to be a Sheila. I have several other names that I used to go by as a kid.
Yeah.
And you would think that Sheila would be easy to spell, but there's so many different ways to spell it. Nobody ever gets it right, like you said,
So names are not important. We as humans think we need to name everything.
Right.
No, not necessary.
No.
So this is fun time to play. So we don't really do any formal introductions. We just dive in. We're ready whenever you are.
Awesome. Okay. All right. Well, I did want to give a shout out to the fact that your YouTube channel's name is StarDragonBrood, and I love that. And of course, we'll have a link to that in the show more section of our video. And so we haven't been together in quite some time. I think since before you went away, Gina.
Yeah.
So it's been, I think, was it before solstice?
Yeah, it was May or end of April. Yeah.
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 Yeah. Well,
April, yeah.
I really have been driven to go kind of deep and withdraw a little bit into myself. And then I think when I thought I was ready, apparently my computers and all of that thought otherwise. So there's that too.
Yeah. Well, we've been on such a journey we were just talking about since this past summer and getting encouraged to start the channel that we did and having conversations with ourselves, with each other, with us.
I'm loving it.
It's been so interesting, the journey. And so it's just like relaxing into and doing whatever is flowing at the moment is the key for us. So what are you thinking?
Well, we just did that video. I mean, we seem to we'll take some steps and then something big will come along, and then we'll take some steps and then something big will come along. It doesn't matter what it is, but they seem to mark. We kind of remember, oh yeah, remember how things were before that we did that video? Yeah. And ever since we've done that video, I think the last one for us was the video with Eva.
yeah, it launched another step. Yeah, unlock some codes. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It was.
Are you speaking on the video in regards to the one where you all spoke on the plant paradox?
The
Yeah, we
healing,
talked about that too. Yeah.
the healing and whatnot.
Yeah, that was a great conversation you guys had there.
Yeah, because I mean, I had a list, and we didn't even touch it.
Yeah. Yeah, we didn't go there at all. It just
She
was
was-
fascinating.
She was unloading some activations.
Yeah. For both of us, and yeah, majorly.
Yeah, because we got it a lot during the video, but then we
Right.
went away and we watched the video and we were mega activated.
It was probably 2 days we resonated and ruminated and discussed that conversation. It was like unpacking for a couple of days for us, and still to some degree, but it was amazing. So the conversations we have been very much, they've kind of changed their tenor a little bit, or their flavor, because they're, it's the capsule that we're all playing in, and we're each, sharing, and we're each getting things, and it kind of is the gift that keeps on giving. So
Yeah, my higher self went from a the little thing that the doctors use to test your reflexes on your knee.
Yeah.
Yourself went from using that on me to a 10-pound sledgehammer.
Oh, fun. Good time.
Well, you can tell how hard his head is then.
But I can take it. I mean, I'm okay. I'm okay.
Yeah, and he's still standing.
I was gonna say, well, yeah, that's right. At least you're
You're
still
looking
standing.
good.
Unlike others among us who go walking on outside of their lane and end up on the ground.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I know what you're speaking on there. It's like, well, and I gave full permission for that. I wanted to be made aware, and I've always known that it's been like this: tap, tap, tap. Didn't hear me? Okay, there's a slap.
Here it goes.
The next thing is the 2x4, or in this particular case, I was picking myself up out the backyard.
Yeah, the face plant.
Yeah, because that's exactly what
I'm
it was.
famous for the face plant myself.
Hey,
I make it look so comedic too.
You got some grass and mud on your nose.
Oh, listen, that you are not joking, and I'm telling you, there is nothing like strolling along, minding somebody else's business. And the next thing you know, you're on the ground. I'm telling you, that's one way that I knew immediately why I was on the ground. There was
That's so delicious.
There was no mistake. That is when the alchemical epiphany really,
Right?
I mean, it's just okay.
Front and center.
That was Sheila's sledgehammer.
Well, think about it this way. Even the best magicians out there, think of Merlin, probably singed some of his eyebrows. So
As he was learning.
Yes.
so you're trying to perfect your craft.
Yeah.
And if you're not really trying, you're not injuring yourself.
Right.
Try not to injure others.
You're right. At least, and this is something I got to give myself credit for. Thank goodness I started getting my body a little better prepared, because I have to tell you, in times past, some of the crap that has ended up happening to me would have ended me up in the hospital because of how decimated, my actual physicality had become. And so at least I got that going for me at that. And honestly, this time, I'm telling you, I felt as though I was kerplopped, no doubt. But it wasn't like in times past where it took my wind out and I couldn't breathe. And I thought maybe I was going to have to call the fire department, because believe me, that has happened in my life. And it was like immediately I got the message and was able to get up and say, oh, okay, I see what we did there. It was more gentle to say, yeah, that's right. That is exactly what that was.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I was led while we were talking before we started recording to pull us a card. I actually had 2 decks and only one of them gave me a card. The other one was like, nope, not today, not today. So if I can share that, we can, because I'm looking at the card going, my gosh, so this is going to be an interesting conversation.
Yes, it is.
So this is the deck, if anybody's interested. It's Denise Lynn, Nature Spirit Oracle card. So for me, yeah, I love these. They have really good energy to them. These came across my path many times before I actually bought the set. So I knew that they were wanting me to interact. And I don't, it's not like the person that's writing the card is, has wisdom, necessarily in themselves. But for me, it's spirit. It's my higher self working through the cards to kind of like bring out whatever, give me a way of articulating the energy that's in the space.
Well,
So
she's
that's
a
the way I look
messenger.
at it. Yeah, she's a messenger. So, but these are beautiful cards. And so the one I pulled today is.
Oh, I love it.
Wow.
That's
Isn't that
beautiful.
interesting?
So it's answering the call. So I think there's a few things here for me when I see that. You know how many rainbows we're seeing nowadays and double rainbows and things like that.
Yeah.
But right now we are all getting our wake-up calls, whether they be sledgehammers or face plants or activated conversations. And we're answering those calls. Yeah. So we're answering them, and the quicker and easier and the more intentionally we answer them, the less sledgehammers we need.
Right.
The less face plants.
Yes.
I'll put it that way.
And the energy with which you answer that call is quite important as well.
Yes. That makes up your attitude. So if your energy is a little bit off, meaning your attitude is a little bit off, that could hit you a lot harder than if you got your attitude aligned with what you're going into. Now, the thing is, you may think you got everything aligned. Sometimes I think I've got everything aligned. I thought I had everything aligned before we did that video with Eva. And then, hey, how come I'm walking skewed?
Why do I feel sideways?
Which is nice, because suddenly you find yourself having a brand new perspective. How delightful. More data to work with.
Yeah, I don't believe in
My
coincidence.
favorite.
Yeah, there are no such thing as coincidences. It's your higher self communicating to you.
Yeah. Always and in all ways.
Yeah.
I know, right? Oh, can I just say that I really do grok that more than I ever have as well. The terminologies of all, AAL, ways, 2 words, and the all ways, 1 word.
Never ceasing.
Right. Well, which also has to do with, I mean, I get it now in a way I never did before. It's not, there is no arriving.
No.
we're not on this journey for the arrival, because we're always going to be on this journey in some form or fashion.
You're either in the mode of getting it or you're not.
Right.
I mean, you said you got it. Well, actually, you're getting it. We're all getting it if we're pursuing some kind of search. If you're not pursuing some kind of search and you're staying in the status quo, you're okay with not getting it. You're okay with what you got.
And that's a choice, and that's cool.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with it.
Because we've talked about before, once you kind of get comfortable, like you recognize, and I know I've done this, so I understand something, I get my arms around it, and then I stay there because now I got it, versus saying, well, I have this, I guess this is on your list from your, I'll be curious once we go to your list, if this fits the.
I got this list, and I was like, back to my counsel, are you sure? And they're like, yeah, that's a good enough for now. And I'm like, no, are you sure you want me to? And they're like, yeah, go ahead, yeah, do it.
Are you saying we need to buckle our seatbelts?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not in Kansas anymore, Dorothy. So, Be prepared. That's all.
Okay. Well, I'm game.
All
Okay.
right.
Let's go.
All right. The first one is we're all loopy.
I'm sorry, what? Say that once more.
We're all loopy.
Loopy or ing?
Loopy
E.
with a Y. We're all loopy.
Well, that's no worries for me. I've always been a little loopy.
So what I got is if we all of a sudden were completely sovereign inside the matrix, every one of us, all of a sudden we're completely sovereign, we would all seem crazy to each other. Think about
Yes,
it.
if it happened all at once, I think you're right.
Yeah. So we loop within ourselves according to a set of standard operating parameters until we're ready to create our new operating parameters on the way to a new construct.
And that keeps us from like falling apart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's an ebb and flow so that we keep everyone intact and we don't lose anybody as far as, because think about it, the people that are really rocking the boat, they look crazy and then they start to detach. But we collectively want to keep everyone close, or at least part of the collective.
Yeah.
So we loop.
Yeah, and I really feel like that's part of the reason why things take so long too, because of every being making choices as they go along the way.
Yep.
Yeah.
We're herding cats.
Yep.
Well, that does link with what we were talking about, getting it. You know, when you get something and you get into that cul-de-sac, we bump each other along. We activate each other to keep ourselves moving, but we're not moving at, like you're saying, jump all the way there and then we fall apart at the fabric. So we're like, we've agreed to kind of like stay together. It's like when you tie your feet together and you're trying to run, you know, you can only go so far.
Yeah.
It's like a
like the three-legged race.
Yeah, exactly. So you can only go so fast.
Cooperate, yeah. You can only go as fast as you're willing to cooperate together.
Yeah, except for we're on a 15 trillion foot race.
Yes. Yeah, we're tied up all the way around.
So that we're not going to move real fast.
Inches at a time.
For some reason, what keeps popping up a visual in my head is, again, for me, the idea of pure light source energy, if you will, entering into this physical vessel, which I look at as a lensing mechanism, much like a prism. If it did all occur at once, it would shatter.
Yeah.
It's not properly prepared. It's not, you know, there's so much, for me anyway, I mean, speak for myself. There's still a lot of programming that, you know, this does not compute, you know, that sort of thing. So I really am starting to see my own wisdom and the speed with which, you know, because I used to be really, come on, I want this to go, I want this to happen. And I'm sorry, Lisa, I can see your lips moving, honey, but I can't hear your voice.
I was agreeing with you, like the hurry up, I'm ready, let's get going.
Yeah.
And then you realize I'm not even ready. If it were here right now, this could be a great disaster for me. That's happened to me a few times because, you know, my hindsight's 20/20. Yeah. I can see it all now, but back then I couldn't.
Yeah. I'm not the brains of the outfit.
Right.
And therefore the driver is driving at just the speed that I need.
Mm-hmm.
And then once I have faith in that and confidence and let go and quit trying to be a backseat driver, things seem to flow a lot smoother.
That's a really scary place to be, though, when you haven't. For me, it has been, you know, because I recognize and acknowledge the fact that I still have a lot of, well, not nearly as much, but it, you know, there's still some programming there that rears its. At least I can see it now when it does, which is really nice, because that's the first step. But yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like I was talking to somebody earlier today. It's kind of like the hindsight piece. So, and then you're kind of you go from kind of kicking yourself. Oh man, I did it. Why didn't I do this or whatever? To then figuring out while you're in it, you're doing it, but you can't stop yourself. To say, oh, it's happening again. Let me stop. So it's a progression, right? So that's the awareness piece of those programming aspects you're talking about that kind of help you get. And sometimes it takes somebody else to bump you or something else. Your higher self puts something else to bump you.
And that's what the dragon magic is about. It's actually not inflicting it on anyone, but there are those people who actually take ideas from their higher selves. They apply, they apply their magic and package it up with analogies and the proper words and everything. And then they put it out there for those who choose to tap into that magic. And then it nudges you.
Yeah, it was interesting when we named our channel back in June.
Yeah, we didn't know.
We were drawn to name it Dragon, so then we sat with that, and it, not very long, it didn't take us, we channeled it basically. It came right through us as to what to call it. And now since then we've had wisdom come online around the dragon magic.
And you know what the energy is called, or what it's from, that actually holds the ley lines and all that around the Earth grid. You know what that's from? It's dragon energy.
Yes. Well, the dragon lines were apparently the first ones.
Right.
Lisa, you were going to say something about that?
No.
I keep seeing you. I'm so sorry.
I was just reacting like, oh, wow. Because, I don't know a lot about dragons, but I've been very attracted to them. And my experience with them was some stories by Krista Lacey. And there's something there about the dragon energy and life force, like the seed of physical life. There's something there for me that is unpacking within me as to like sort of my origins, and I'm feeling that the dragon is a part of that for me. But that's about all I have. So I love this topic.
Yeah, see, the thing is, the dragon, my feeling, this is just my perspective, the dragon energy was one of the earliest energies to come in. At some point, the dark forces sabotaged the dragon energy and gave it a bad name. And that's why we have dragons, burning up people and killing people and all that. That's because they sabotaged it by putting out all this propaganda. But now the dragon energy is starting, because now Mother Earth is fully waking up the feminine energy and whatnot. It's freeing the dragon. It's freeing the dragon.
Which is like the planetary Kundalini rising.
Yes.
And that we would, as connecting then with that dragon energy, we would be participating in that.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't have clear guidance on this, but I've always felt that the ancient dragon energy of which you're speaking on there, Tim, is connected in some ancient way to planetary elementals. There are elementals of every sort, yes, but for me, I've always in some way felt that, and it could actually be metaphor for all I know,
like they are the embodiment of the elementals, right?
Yeah.
And I've always had a bit of an affinity with dragons. We've discussed that before. I think I actually used one of my puzzles as a thumbnail because it makes me feel a lot about you. That is you. So I put that puzzle together years ago, and that is you to me. That's just exudes you to me.
Yeah.
And so, but I've always felt that that ancient dragon energy was it's like it's what brought the foundational building blocks, if you will, to for the coalescing of things. And like I said, this is just a feeling, and I don't have any direct. And I have a feeling that as more of me integrates into me, I will get more information about that.
Yeah.
I feel that coming.
Yeah,
That's
we're all
way
doing
out.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, we are all doing that, and everyone, and it will feel differently for everyone because we will get it through our own personal experiential filters. It can be no other way. That's why something that others say will resonate within, but there'll be something that doesn't fit right or feel right, and it has to do with filtering mechanisms that we each have based on our experiences.
Right.
That's why things feel, well, part of that feels right to me, but part of it doesn't, and that's only I've come to recognize that for myself as experiential filters.
Yeah.
Right.
We excuse me, we've lately been listening to Laura Eisenhower.
Oh,
She
okay.
talks on a lot of different subjects, but she is strong into astrology.
Yeah.
And we found out a while ago that there was the 13th sign, which is Ophiuchus. Found out that I'm Ophiuchus. Ophiuchus is new. I mean, it wasn't there, and then it's
here.
It's here. It's the only sign that isn't one of the 4 elements. It's actually ether, and it's the healer.
Healing waters and healing, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of different thoughts and feelings about Ophiuchus, and it's come up a lot in the collective recently, and even at that, and I feel. Because I'm so very drawn to astrology myself. I personally feel like we all set that sort of thing up for ourselves, because at the moment we draw breath into this physical reality, the planets are stationed as such. It's all very planned, and I became infused with carrying, if you will, an amalgamation of the frequencies of all of those, because I chose to be born at that particular place at that particular time. And all of those planets that surround us are in those particular spots at that moment of birth. So I now resonate at that specific sort of frequency. So I feel what you're saying there in regards to Ophiuchus. And I'm not quite sure what to make of that, because I don't know enough about. There are so many different types of astrology. There's Vedic astrology, sidereal astrology, tropical astrology, and different Chinese astrology, and they all carry different things. Again, for me, that's all more of those. Experience, a combination of experiential filters, things we've forgotten, things we didn't, that sort of thing.
And things we've been taught within a system, a paradigm, so to speak, old, the old dimension. And I think it's interesting on the pieces, and Laura speaks about this a bit too. But I've also felt into this a little bit. It's the sign itself. It's the element itself. It's what the sign means, but it's also the number 13 and the power of the number 13 associated. I mean, we don't have a 13th floor in a lot of buildings. We're, unlucky number 13. I mean, the 13 number has something to do with it. And even if the 13th sign has been there all along, for some reason, it didn't come into our awareness and understanding until this time. So it's, for me, I've always kind of watched astrology, let's say, look at my horoscope periodically and things like that, but it's drawn me into understanding it a little bit more, and the power of systems that we have that have held our existence into place for so long were created for that time period, whoever created it, but were created to hold us in that operating system for that time period, everything from our calendars to our astrology to our, medical to whatever it is. So I find it if it resonates with you, to sit with it a little bit and just, it's not going to come from here, it's going to come from here, and just kind of exploring it and seeing the dance of the stars and what's happening within that realm, because there could be other signs out there that are coming online that are beyond the 13, that either we are now calling into existence, or we're now just becoming aware of it because we can see it. We're at a different level and can a different vibrational level and can actually see it. I mean, that's the way I kind of hold it. Yeah.
Right. I feel you on that. I kind of,
It's
for me,
evolving.
really interesting to, as I've learned what I have learned about all of it and myself, because it is so much deeper than just the horoscope. But I now see it all as a way to, it's all metaphor. Even when you were speaking on the 13th sign, I'm reminded of, the fact that for
Yeah, we're in an astrology cul-de-sac right now.
Say what now?
We're in an astrology cul-de-sac right now. Astrology is like anything else out there. It by itself, it doesn't do anything.
No, you're absolutely right. That's why I was speaking on the fact that for me, I see that it's more of a metaphor. We have, in the Bible, 12 apostles plus Christ makes 13. You have, all kinds of things that have to do with that 13. So yeah, you're right. It's much more.
Mm-hmm.
And it just, for me, I view all of it as a way of communicating with self.
Yeah.
To help me awaken to who I really am.
Yep. I agree.
Yeah. So what I was mentioning about Laura is she does the astrology. She I don't know much about astrology, but she's doing that in conjunction with other things that she's picking up. She's done a lot of research, and she's putting it together with what she's learning about, Greek myth and the creation stories and religions, and it's pulling it together. You don't have to believe the whole thing. It's she's to me, she's a messenger. She's putting the things out there in conjunction with who her family is. Her great grandfather was president of the United States. She talks about that he was part of the alien, agenda that, but it was really foisted on him. He didn't really have an option by that point. He really had to just surrender and just take whatever they put in front of him. But before he left office, that last speech he did was a real eye opener for a lot of people. He really warned everyone, being president doesn't have much power.
Yeah.
There's a bigger force out there really running things here, even here in the United States.
Yeah, and what I like about her is she's like an explorer. She doesn't, if you watch her over the years, as she's learned, she's constantly learning and incorporating what she's learning and adjusting if it needs to be adjusted. So it's like she doesn't, and this is what I've been working on myself, doesn't develop a belief system, or I think I know it and now that's my platform, and then I'm going to try to look from that point at all of these things and see if they fit. She's like, okay, this is where I'm at right now, and this morphs, based on what I'm finding, and then but everything ties together. But it's like, that's the cul-de-sac. When you get a belief and you think you know it, or you've got that framework or that model, you hear people talk about it and they bolt it on, versus it morphing and growing. And that's what's fascinating about her. I'm presuming we are touching on some other points.
These items are basically kind of, it seems like that first item kicked off the energy, and now we're dancing all through this.
Okay.
Even before I get to it, which is not a bad thing, but
you want to dive in with
what I'm saying is I think some of these are going to be worded in such a way that it's either going to nudge you right away, or it's going to you're going to be able to go away and go, I mean, because sometimes an analogy can tell a story better than someone trying to find all these crazy words and tell you exactly what happened.
Okay.
So.
All right. Well, so let's go down the list and see what triggers. And what I'll commit to do is what we've talked about, is like, if I don't agree or can't understand it at the moment is just to take it and let me sit with it, because
Why are we stating that?
yeah, just in case we run into something that
I think that's for my benefit, actually.
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I address it. I address it. It's
Okay.
none of what we say is actually an ultimatum to anyone.
Absolutely not.
We don't
Yeah.
believe in ultimatums.
Mhm.
You don't have to believe what we say or whatever. It's you tap into the energy and then you go do whatever you want to
Mhm.
with it. Or say, no, I'm not ready for that energy,
Mhm.
or I don't want that energy. And that's fine.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we present that. That's our kind of default now.
That's our MO.
Yeah. So we just kind of roll with
Yeah,
things.
exactly.
Yeah. So the next one is opening the mind is the fertilization of creator energies. Otherwise, we're just operating under the old parameters.
Mm-hmm.
So that one I had to think about. I had to go, what? You're talking about manure? Are you talking about manure on my mind? No, opening the mind is fertilization of the creator energies.
Yeah.
Opening the mind is saying the status quo isn't serving me anymore. So I'll get to more items and it'll start to crack some more open.
Yeah, because I think that links a little bit with the energy I was feeling around the belief. So once you have that if you don't open your mind on what you have set as your toehold or foundation, you're not gonna let something else grow through. You're gonna limit the growth of it based on what you're holding on to. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
that's the energy I'm
it's like I gave the short version and you just gave the long version.
Yeah.
And so whatever works for you, like whatever words you need to do to break it down or to push it away. I mean, it doesn't, whatever you decide. Sometimes it's, hey, I understand that, but I'm going to put that on the shelf for now. Or some people say, well, I need to sit here and play with it a little bit before it, whatever.
Before I feel
comfortable. I'm saying this is kind of like a storyboard, and they kind of feed one right into the other. Because I was looking at it going, where are we going? And then once I got to the end, I'm like, oh, okay.
As you can tell, I don't look at Tim's list beforehand.
No, I surprised her. I've only actually showed her the list maybe once or twice.
One time.
Back when we were doing them with you.
Long time ago. Yeah. So I don't see them.
Yeah. So, all right. So the next one is creators are hackers of the old system. And what do we want to do? We all want to be creators, right? We're all talking about being, getting into our creator energy. So basically, if you put in computer terminology, we're hackers. Well, in this world, how are hackers looked at?
I'm keeping an open mind about what you're saying here, but the first thing that came up for me when you said that is that we want to be creators. But in my experience, we already are. We always have been, and we've been walking around creating in an unconscious fashion things that we don't want, things that, well, we did want, obviously, or they wouldn't be being created, but creating unconsciously. Again, that's for me, and everyone's mileage will vary, but for me, I see this, the whole point of coming into this existence is creation in and of itself. And because what I'm doing here, if there is truly only one of me to begin with, and I individualize into the physicality, and what I'm doing in every moment of every now is creating my reality in combination with other portions of me that are playing at singularity as well. That's the way I view that. So I'm keeping an open mind, because I used to hold it that way, that we were like, I actually said the words in 2016 on my porch out here, I think we're creators in training. And what I didn't see then was that I've been creating the entire time, just in a very unconscious, unfocused, undirected fashion.
Could you read that one again for me?
Creators or hackers of the old system. To me, I don't disagree with what you're saying, but to me, I look at the pure definition of the word creator. To me, a pure creator is someone who is knowledgeable about their creating, and they're utilizing that energy to complete the circle about creating and using the creator energy. If that circle is broken, you are no longer a creator. You're creating things, but you're not doing it for yourself. You're actually, someone is actually tapping into you and stealing your creator energies, and they're deploying it away from your direction.
Like remote controlling you.
So we have been creators all along. We just haven't been acting as creators. We've been acting as a, let's just say, minion of other entities to create something that they can thrive in and we don't. And they've exploited our creator energies. Well, when I talk about wanting to be a creator, like, why do we want to be a creator and hacker? Well, it's because the old system has lost its potency for expansion of feelings. If the old system isn't serving our needs, hence we're looking for something else, and that is the creation. It's the wanting to get back to being a true creator, where you understand your creator energies and you deploy them according to your feelings, your wishes, not being utilized by someone else.
Yeah, that feels like a matter of perception and perspective to me.
Well, isn't everything?
Yeah. Yep. It's just not one I hold, so that's cool. But I'm open to considering it. That's for certain.
Yeah. So there's more, and I knew this was going to be a little bit out there. This one is kind of out of the loop, but I think I know why. How much of your life is new compared to 10 years ago?
Me personally, everything about it.
So you're learning, you're pulling back your creator energies away from those who took it from you, and now you're deployed. Think of it as you were a magician. You had all this capability of conjuring and deploying your magic, and someone came along and stole your energies. But they deploy them through you because you're the storehouse of those energy, but they're the ones now directing your magic and conjuring it at their needs and wishes and wants, and not yours. So now, and we allowed it, we provided it so we could play this game. And then at some point we started searching for answers. That is actually one of these items on here. Basically, we said the old system doesn't serve our needs anymore. I'm taking back my creator energies, but I don't know how, because I'm still part of the system. If I all of a sudden became sovereign, I would be crazy and shunned from the system.
Yeah.
So now you're relearning how to deploy and understand your magic, understand your creator energies.
Yeah, because it's like the awakening, when it comes to me, when you're talking about that, is like the way that our energies were stolen or manipulated, if you will, were our systems, like our education, the music, the sound, they were playing us like instruments. The energies were playing us like instruments to do things, but we didn't totally understand it. And now the more we are aware of it, and the more we're saying, no, I'm taking control, I'm taking ownership of my life, and I'm choosing, that's where we're starting to come into that creator. Is that does that help? Like put it in a framework of, am I understanding it in the way you're delivering it, I guess is the question.
I
my
can't tell you.
Got it.
That's your understanding.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. This next one is, well, we'll see what happens.
Okay.
A need to understand is the brain tying back to the old system.
Mm-hmm.
But letting go is the heart's path to new feelings. So searching for answers is a clear sign that the old system is not enough for the feelings you want.
Mm.
So we say, I want to understand that. What you're saying is, I want to take this new thing and I want to map it right back to the old system.
Yeah.
Using this thing right here called the brain.
Mm-hmm.
But really, the answer is letting go and let the heart feel its way to embracing it in your own way, where it makes you feel the way you want to feel, not the way someone tells you to feel. Because understanding it is, I want to understand on the same level that everyone else understands it. Because that's what understanding is. It's employing logic that everyone has here in the 3D, 4D world.
See, I maintain that's the biggest problem. It's not everybody thinks they have understanding, because again, you speak Tim English, she speaks Gina English, Lisa speaks Lisa English, and I speak Sheila English, based on all the compilation of experiences of each one of those words that we speak over the course of our lifetime. So there really isn't, we've all been given this idea that when we speak a thing, everybody's understanding the same thing, and we're not, and that never will be. And that's the easiest thing for me, once I really grokked that my understanding, understanding, grokking of anything comes through all of my experiential filters, which are always going to be completely different from any other being on the planet, even if I lived in the same household with them all my life. But you didn't have the same interactions with people. And so that's what informs and develops the ego, the personality, the cellular memories of all of us. And that's what forms our filters, if you will. So for me, in the idea of remaining open, that's the first step, is knowing that anything I say, you say, she says, he says, I may think I understand, but I may not exactly understand exactly what they're trying to communicate to me, unless, like you said, Tim, you feel it. You may be able to feel it. That's why, for me, I'm getting the idea of feeling into things, rather than, because I know up here, like you said, my intellectual knows that all of the things that we think we understand, that we all have an understanding of, that we really don't. We only have them according to how we've experienced them. For me, the biggest intake of that was of any word. Take any word. A present. Well, some folks may have received, an avocado wrapped in, that's a ridiculous example. I like to use the word love because that's, to me, the most misunderstood one. If you've taken someone who's experienced the kind of love that they've always ached from, then their experience of that is completely different from someone else who's experienced love in a completely different fashion.
I'm lost. I'm lost because why are we talking about other people? I'm talking from my perspective.
Speaking on understanding things between each other.
No, just personally.
No, personally. No,
like
I wasn't.
When I hear something and personally understand.
Could you read that again for me then? Because perhaps I misunderstood it from the very beginning.
A need to understand is the brain tying it back to the old system. But letting go is the heart's path to new feelings. Searching for answers is a clear sign that the old system is not enough for the feelings you now want. If you're in search
You
for
said
something,
that caused that to come in. So I apologize for that. But there was something you said in regards to understanding.
I think I triggered you when I said logic. When I said we all employ logic and whatnot. We all employ our own version of logic. If you went back 20, 30 years ago, you would see completely different behavior on this planet, especially in this country. People understood more of the same things, and so their behavior was more understood. It was more uniform. It was more contained. Since then, we have gone on a search. That search proves that the old system was not sustaining us. It was, otherwise we wouldn't be in search for something new.
Right.
Well, we weren't looking for new understanding. We were looking for new feelings. Because the old system is not making us feel the way we want to feel. If we did, we'd stay in it.
Right.
But we wanted new feelings. But we started doing it with our brain. Well, the brain is just going to, like I started out with, we're all loopy. You're just going to start looping through the same parameters and finding the same answers. When you do find something new, what do? You break it down so you can understand it, and you tie it right back to the old system. So it doesn't really get you anywhere. It all, you get to say, I understand it. But if you don't feel it, if you're not feeling it, then it didn't really move you. All you did was catch you in one of your logic loops, your understanding loops. We keep telling ourselves, I need to understand that before I can do anything with it. Right. And I say, that's the old system telling you how you need to operate. That's the old operating parameters. The new operating parameters that we are building and we're in the process of actually modifying according to our capabilities and our magic and our co-creative abilities is to find our way, not using this, but using how it makes us feel.
Yeah, no, you're exactly correct there.
Right. So what this does is it shows understanding, because I put a lot of weight on understanding things. If I can understand something, I can put it somewhere, I can work with it. But I realize I'm actually keeping me, by understanding it, I'm keeping me from opening my heart to it. I'm actually said, oh, my brain's got it, so I can close that door. And what I just did is cul-de-sac it, because now I know it. Now that I know it, I don't need to go any further. If I go anywhere, it's all I'm doing is dancing around the same data.
Yeah.
But feeling it is not a knowing. Feeling it is feeling it is hearing a new song and it moves you and you dance. You can't explain it. It has no understanding. It breathes a life of its own. It's your creative energies taking form in something that didn't exist before.
Yeah, exactly.
But if you need to understand it, you're saying, no, I'm only going to dance the way I danced in the past. That old system I'm familiar with. So I'm going to stay with my same dance routine. Even though the song may move me a little bit, I want to understand it. So I'm going to dance my old style. So you're not creating anything new.
It makes me think about the floating in space, because whenever, we try to, and I'll speak for me, whenever I try to understand something, it gives me a certain level of security around which platform then to take and add this new thing to myself, or to, adjust myself. When you go away from needing to understand it, it's like you're floating in space, and you don't know how it's going to end up. And, the minute you try to anchor it or hold it while it's still evolving, you're limiting the expansion that you can receive from it.
Right. And the reason I think that this is being brought up is it's hard to employ and understand your creative abilities while you still have at least 1 foot in the old system. And especially if you're trying to tie everything back to the old system, employing new creative energies, that doesn't tie back to the old system. The old system is the old system. Anything new is outside that old system, and you're not going to understand it. You're not going to understand it according to logic, the old 3D, 4D logic. You're going to feel. The bridge is your heart. It's a heart bridge to feel it. You don't need, it's like, I don't know how to understand. I don't know how to explain it. It makes me dance. It makes me feel good. It makes me do this. It makes me do that. That is what we're looking for.
It gives me chills.
More of.
It makes me happy.
That's your creator energy. The old is already created. It doesn't need to be recreated.
Yeah.
So if something new has an energy to it, and we understand it, what we're doing it from our perspective is we're taking the energy and we're putting it back into the old system so that we can diffuse it. We're not really employing new creator energies or allowing those new creator energies to actually activate us until we just take a leap of faith. We let go of needing to understand and just say, take me. Let me see where you take me. I don't want to understand my way there. I want to float my way there. And that requires you to cut the lines to back to the old system and understand it.
Courage and trust and all that stuff you have to have in yourself. You can't be
in yourself. You're not trusting someone else. You're trusting you and your higher self that the journey is going to be worth it without the old understanding, railroad tracks.
Yeah.
You're now going for a heart bridge. And that required what? That's not as stable. That doesn't, we tell ourselves.
Well, we also, to go back to our first one of us being interconnected and moving together, sometimes we are, some of that security is not allowing ourselves to be floaty and kind of out there in space for the ties that we have for everybody else too. So, but the problem is we don't go out there and explore and evolve the whole, because we're not allowing ourselves. It's kind of self-fulfilling prophecy. We're all staying in the loop together because we're holding each other in that loop.
Yeah. I mean, you can be a nurturer for someone no matter what. You don't give them any ultimatums, and you say, I'm going to love you no matter what you get into, whatever you start to put your energies in, and you decide you're going to be something completely different than what I thought you were going to be. And I'm okay with it because you're not trying to fulfill my needs. You're fulfilling your needs. And I'm saying it's okay. And I can let go of my need for you to fill my needs.
Right. Yeah.
So it's a pure act of love to yourself, to trust your heart, to trust in your feelings. But our understanding is skewing our feelings, so it's that constant dichotomy. Why does the higher self not get involved? Because of free will. You're allowed to. You're allowed to get stuck. You're allowed to keep one foot over here and say, I'm not ready to leap. I'll stick a toe in the water, but I'm not ready to leap. And the higher self says, okay, well then I'm going to keep sending you these 50-pound sledgehammers made out of feathers
until you
just to try to get your attention. It's not to change your mind. It's to say, here's some more options. Here's a new way to look at it. Here's a new way to see if it'll open your heart. Because I'd just like you to try this chocolate. I think you'll like it if you really try it.
Yeah, that feels good.
Right. Yeah. So to close out this, because all of these actually kind of went together. You may not realize it, but they all kind of told a story. But not all stories are just one arc. They feed into each other. So this one I had to really think about, but I think I get it. But I'm still letting it percolate because my brain is getting in the way. Yeah. When I start to feel it, my brain goes, well, what about this? What about that? Or whatever. So it's letting go to get this. Martin Luther King had a dream. We're all I hope everyone is familiar with the words that he actually talked about. If you listen to the whole thing, just let it percolate. Martin Luther King had a dream, but the system said no. Now, many of us are having that same dream or similar dreams, and we won't accept no.
Yes.
It is now our time.
I'm curious, what about that were you not able to feel into?
Beyond what the old system told me to feel about Martin Luther King. Beyond what the old system told me that that's all love and flowers and fairy tales and, okay, yes, it's more out there, but I had a slot to put it in to where I could then go to sleep and forget about it.
Plus, they kind of limited his dream to a certain cause, and his dream was much broader and deeper and wider than what we were ever taught.
He was a starseed,
Yeah.
and he planted one of the biggest seeds out there, and the majority of us missed it. We missed it. But the good thing is it sat there in each one of us, just waiting to be watered. And for some reason, these energies coming in now.
Wow.
Man.
Well, I made a note here. I'm gonna link. I'm gonna find.
Man, I'm feeling it. You feeling it?
Yes, I was already starting. Wow.
Yeah, my toes are numb.
Wow.
Man.
Mine comes out in tears.
I don't even care what I was saying. I don't even care.
It's so
Well, I'll make sure and link a YouTube of that speech in the show more section of this video.
Man, that came in waves.
That was beautiful, Kim. Thank you. Very nice.
Yeah. Love that.
Wow. Thank you for letting us play, man. That was awesome.
Kim's heart songs.
I love it. That was awesome.
Yes. Cheers. Definitely cheers.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I enjoyed that thoroughly.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, I had chills starting at my feet, go all the way to the top of my head, and then they went start back up here.
Back down?
Back
Yeah,
down.
mine was like a swell.
In the wave. Woohoo!
Man. Woo.
That was good.
What were we talking about? What are we doing here?
Yeah.
Who are you?
Got the list there.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Wow.
That's what we're doing here. We're having a lot of fun.
That's right. That's right. And the more we can tap into that feeling piece and, resonating in that feeling, it comes in the oddest of ways and surprises us always. Are you finished with your list? I don't want to take us off track, but I'm thinking about the hurricane we had come through the other day, because I sat I got up that morning and I went and sat in my back room where I have windows and I could see birds and the woods, the trees and stuff like that. And the joy and the awesomeness, and I felt like I was just bathing in this love of nature and watching nature interact and the power of Gaia and the respect that other, all the beings had, and just that, it just fills me right now. It was just, I was in that bliss. It was complete bliss and stuff all day long, just complete calm, just awareness and complete appreciation and gratitude for the whole, never a fear, not one speck of fear or concern or any, just that kind of energy. And it's coming in those things that you wouldn't think a hurricane bring that to you, but that's the way it's coming now in so many, and just like this, talking about Martin Luther, that wave, it just comes in.
Yeah.
Amazing. And I don't really care how it comes. I don't need to understand it anymore. It's just, feeling it and letting it happen, and me going like, why am I feeling like that right now? And how am I doing this right now? And how do I make this happen next time? It's like, no. Right.
And the important note is in that message, when we were talking about Martin Luther King, it wasn't about understanding.
No.
I read Martin Luther King's speech many times. I understand it from my brain, 3D, 4D, grounded approach. I understand it from there. But it's not about that. It's about letting that go, and him as a dream weaver, an artist, paints you a picture as he's infusing you with the energy of his intent behind those words. It's looking deeper beyond the words. The words are surface. It taken separately, they don't really mean that much. They mean something, but they don't. It's behind the words. He was a magician, and the system said and it burned him at the stake. It said, we're not going to let you wield that magic here. And what I'm saying is more of us are coming together, because not because we're understanding, but because we're letting go to allow the feeling from behind that, from underneath it, come into the system. Don't worry, if you don't fully feel it, you will. It's just a matter of time. But now it's juxtaposed against your understanding. You're gonna get a little feel for it, like a toe was dipped in it, and then your logic mind is going to start saying, "Oh, I understand it," and then you go, "Okay, don't fight it." It's letting go of that need to understand it, and just bathe in
just sit there and
the open heart frequency of letting it come to you, not reaching out and have to grab it, because that's what understanding is: reaching out, grabbing it, and making it yours from the 3D, 4D perspective. But 5D is letting it come to you,
swimming,
and actually bathing in it. And it's not making it yours. In 5D, I own nothing. Nothing. Nothing is mine. I don't need anything. I don't need anything to be Tim's.
Right. Even what comes out of your, we always say, "Oh, we created this," or the artist, signed it. Is like, no, it came. It's just the creation.
I like what you said there. It reminded me of how, by not owning anything, you allow everything into your experience. See, you have access to all by not owning or putting that perimeter around it. Yeah, it's funny. I feel like this whole week has been the same theme for me, Tim. And I've been getting sort of like seeing myself in the ocean metaphor, and in that surrendering to the loving support that really is all around me, and that that searching for answers is holding the energy that I am lacking of something in this moment of now, which isn't the truth at all, but to surrender to the truth, sort of roll over, quit treading water and trying to make things happen or swim or whatever it is, and roll over onto my back and to float and just see and allow that I am fully supported in this moment of now. And often now that I've practiced this technique, I'll discover that the minute I flip over and sort of give up the struggle, the search, the understanding that you're speaking of, I'll have, well, for me, it's quite comical because I choose to see it that way. But the delicious thing that I'm really yearning for was just right around the corner, or watching me, or in some way right here, if I wasn't able to acknowledge and accept its arrival in my world because I was so busy focused on doing this other thing that really wasn't getting me anywhere. So I find it interesting that right now we are all in the same boat.
Yes.
Well.
We're out of the boat.
Yeah.
Or ship. I liked your space metaphor with the floating. It's the floating, baby.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah.
Well,
we all feel like we need to do something.
Right.
We need to fix something, or we need to get over something, or we need to, find something. We need to understand something. And honestly, there's nothing you need to do. You need to relax and just let things start coming to you. And that seems counterproductive or counterintuitive.
Mm.
It's what? Yeah, because we're ending on the need for understanding and opening the new paradigm of loving. And the loving comes from the heart.
Mhm.
And I'm talking about the true heart.
Mhm.
It's not about grokking something. I mean, I keep telling myself, I don't get that. So I guess I'm not supposed to get it, or maybe I'm not trying hard enough, or maybe I'm just cloudy brain today.
Yeah.
But really, I'm not ready for it. I realize, okay, I'm not ready for it. So I go away and say, I'm going to go listen to some music. I'm going to find a way to relax my brain, or find something like reading to placate my brain and send it off in a virtual world to read so it can have an exercise. It's doing its bench pressing and all this, and it gets tired, and then that frees my heart to then start to float and be able to act as a dream catcher. Because that's what I'm trying to do, is I'm trying to catch the energies. I don't need to actually go anywhere to do it. They're surrounding us. Your higher self has actually set it up that way. It's all surrounding you. It's not a matter of going to look for it. It's actually just allowing them to come in, but we keep walking.
It's magnetically drawn to you through matching frequency.
Yeah.
It made me think of our squirrels. So we bought a squirrel feeder, that has a lid and out there, and we'll watch the squirrels. It's full of seed, and we're watching the squirrels. It's full of seed, and we're out there going, yeah, come on, push up the lid.
Oh,
come on.
You're almost there.
And I imagine that's our high self saying,
you almost got it.
It's right there. You just, you gotta let go of that.
So I think our higher self is doing that. It's urging us on, but we're like toddlers, but with brains. I mean, with brains that have already been programmed that we need to act this way, and we need to do under this set of parameters and operating system.
We're toddlers that go like, I know everything. I know.
Yeah, I mean, that's how I used to be. I thought, okay, I know that. I don't need training on that. I don't need that. I don't need that. I already know that. Yeah. Well, all I'm doing is creating a cul-de-sac on those things, so I'm not going to get any further. But now I realize it's not about understanding. I mean, really, I want to feel. I want to feel things. I want to feel like what knowing used to provide. It's a matter of feeling satiated. Yeah. The bliss will come after that. The true happiness will come after you don't feel like you need to do anything. Yeah. Once you can get to where you can start to let go. Maybe you haven't fully let go, but you can start to let go and turn around and look at your need to understand things. It's then that you realize, oh, that's 3D, 4D. That's the beach. Now I'm going out in the water. The water, which is the waves hitting us, is the 5D. I need to float. I need to let go of the 3D, 4D beach of the understanding, and then just go float out in the water. And then see where it takes me.
Yeah, and not fight it, like Lisa, like you were saying, it's not flailing, and because sometimes that's what we're doing. We're flailing and lashing about and trying to figure it out when it is much easier.
Or when I first started going, I'm in a riptide! I'm in a riptide! Come on, let's panic!
And wear ourselves out.
Yeah, riptides are real, man.
Yes, they are.
Once you realize you're going to be okay, you are okay. You're okay right where you're at, but you can actually open up a whole new world where you can explore from the heart. Because the brain is kind of maxed out. I mean, not to say that we couldn't find more use for it, but it's not even the driver. We've just fooled ourselves into thinking we use this to understand, and that's what gets us places in this 3D, 4D world.
Yeah.
That's what they convince us to do, to play that game. And
Yep.
they're not bad for doing that. It's just that was, that was the game of Monopoly that we were playing. They set up their rules, and we said, in order to enter this game,
Yeah.
you had to give up your creator abilities. You had to give up your other elementals. You had to give your power over those up. You had to give all this stuff up in order to come play this game. And now the game is actually coming to a conclusion. But we decided, no, we want more of this, but we're taking over the rulemaking. We're not going to let someone else who's so limiting, thank you for doing it the way you did it. I wouldn't have done it that way, but thank you.
A place to start.
Yeah. Now we're taking the power back, and now we're going to take this thing where it'll make us feel more and deeper and, I don't know, more, just thicker and more rewarding. And even when you feel loneliness, it's where you don't have the stigma about loneliness. Right. You don't have the stigma about melancholy.
Yeah.
It's actually part of the story.
It is a feeling.
Yeah, it is a feeling. And now realizing you're going to throw open the book about feelings and not have all these stigma, because you basically said, okay, to the current administration of the old paradigm, thanks, but don't let the door, on the way out.
Yeah. And collectively, that's what we're doing right now.
Right.
Yeah.
But if you want revenge, or if you need to see them punished, or you need anything from the 3D, 4D,
you're still in it.
Guess what? You're still giving it energy.
No. Yeah. Exactly.
And understanding is one of the. It's mischievous. It's hard to.
Yeah, I now know why. It just came to me again. It is the word understanding and the way you're using it that triggered me to begin with, because everyone comes to an understanding in their own way, and the way you're speaking on, I get it that is for you, but throughout this entire conversation, I what continues to come up for me is it's all of, well, the words "your mileage may vary" continually came up, because we all even process things in different ways. Similarly, you said feeling is not a knowing. Well, I had a real tough time with the words knowing. A knowing is a feeling, is what I had come to, because it's different than a book learning knowing, right? And for a long time for me too, intellect and heart were totally confused for me. And so I'm just given to feel in this moment that all of us, based on the experiences we set up for ourselves as we came in here, because I don't hold it that anyone, creator or anyone else, did anything. Yes, to a perspective, certain perspectives, but I guess I can't see it. I can't unsee that now. I know that everything that has been done to, I also set up. I participated in setting it up so I could have the experiences that I have had, and setting it up with the direction of an experience that I set up to experience. Yes, once I got in here, I have free will, but so the understanding, I think that's where, for me, because it's come up again, and understanding whether a person gets the feeling in their heart, and understanding that's what they're feeling. See, for me, I think there's something I'm not connecting with, and maybe that's it. And I think that everyone will come to a point for themselves that I get it, that my understanding is going to be completely different than yours. Because a lot of what you've said, I can't disagree with. And I've sat here and held myself very open to make sure that I'm not trying to intellectualize something. But it's coming up for me a lot, and that is that I process things in a completely different way, and I see that now about myself. I used to beat myself up about it, but I don't any longer, because it is my way, and it doesn't mean that it's right or wrong or anything. It's just my way, and it's good for me, and I'm okay with that. And that's the one thing I want everyone to come away from this conversation with, that however, if it's comfortable for you and it's working for you, then it is your way, and it's okay. Because I held, as soon as I grokked that for myself, and when I say grok, there's a difference for me from understanding. That's a bit of an intellectual exercise, and I saw the difference for myself, and only for me, what it looks like and feels like, the difference between those two things, an intellectual understanding and an alchemical epiphany, which for me means grokking in a very physical way, which translates for me in a lot of ways to the feeling of something. But it could be too that, like I said, there's there was a program, I think, somewhere within me for a long time, where intellectual understanding, I held it as a different thing that for me personally than I do now. I don't know if that makes any sense, but I guess what I'm saying is that everyone's going to process and feel into things differently based on all their compilations of experiences.
I agree with you, and we as starseeds, or whatever you want to call us, light showers, we have this need to, be concerned for others, and there's a time to do that. But right now, that is not the time. If you stop worrying about other people and just focus on you.
Oh, I am. That's exactly why I'm saying that, because I view this whole situation a little bit differently than you do.
Okay.
That's why I wanted to say that.
That's fine, but you kept alluding to other people. So you're tapping into that energy, which is not just Sheila energy.
I am other people from you at this moment, and that's why I'm saying the things that I'm saying. I am the other people I'm referring to. My mileage has varied from what you've just said. So I am the other people that I'm referring to.
So you're sitting as a representative for the other people, you're not just.
I'm just someone. I am a singularity other than Tim, and I see this very differently than Tim. Mm-hmm. Is what I'm saying. I feel this. I sense this very differently from what I am in this moment understanding Tim to say. Now, it's very clear that perhaps I don't really understand exactly what Tim is saying, hence why I've been trying, I thought very successfully, to stay open, because that's always been my thing from day one, is being open. And just because I don't get it in this moment of now doesn't mean that I won't go away and get it later. As a puzzle piece collector, I'm very proud to say I am very good at seeing, feeling, sensing puzzle pieces. And just because I don't get it in that moment does not mean that I dismiss it forever from anything. It is only simply sitting right over here, awaiting the time that perhaps I may either grok it or it makes sense into my specific singularity puzzle piece. Just because it doesn't fit in my singularity puzzle right this moment doesn't mean that it won't always. But it would be very disingenuous of me to sit here and say, oh yeah, I get what Tim's saying, when I don't. Right? And so that makes me the other people. And it's been my experience where there's one, there usually is more. And because these are energetic envelopes, I felt called to say such. For me, that's part of being honest, standing in my truth, and and being able to see that I can hold myself open and say, and be honest to say that I don't quite grok what Tim is saying. I've never been one to say, yeah, I get it, when I don't. I've never been that. And I never would, because that's disingenuous.
Right.
And for me, that's why I say I'm not quite sure exactly what it is. And I definitely will go back and rewatch and listen to this video for myself, which I normally do not. Listen to our conversations again, but I will definitely do this one, because perhaps there's something that as I've sat here, I've held something here that's blocked it. I don't know, but
yeah. You're in the process of making a decision about how much you want to understand, how much you want to go into that area right now under the conditions that you see it sitting in.
Right.
So you are employing your own free will to say, here is my approach. My approach is, I don't understand your feeling. I don't understand your definition or your explanation about the feeling thing. So I'm stopping right here. I'm watching and listening to what you guys are talking about, but I don't understand it. And
I don't feel it in the same way, I don't think, because I've been sitting here trying to feel into what you're saying. And for whatever the reason, it's not translating in. Some of it is, that's why I said, I'm happy to set it over here and recognize it as a puzzle piece.
Right. And that to me is brave. That's brave. You're being honest. You're being more sovereign than most people are being.
Right.
And I think that's brave. Does it serve you now? If it is, then you will expand upon it. If not, you will move somewhere else where that situation works for you.
Right.
And then
And no one here is trying to force you.
Oh no, I get that.
Yeah,
I get that. Oh, I get that totally. But that's why I said I felt it important to bring it up in just the way I did, for that very reason of what you said, because all too often, I mean, that for me, that's the whole thing with the emperor's new clothes, or the emperor has no clothes, is that, everybody kind of just goes on, oh yeah, I get it, when they don't.
Yeah.
I've seen that. I've felt that on occasion. And I've never been one to do that. First of all, that's not serving me in any sort of way.
Yeah.
And so, again, part of my own personal soul's mission is to be very truthful in my awakening and allow others to see what it actually looks like as one does go through and sort these extraneous puzzle pieces out. And I know that part of what you were speaking there on cul-de-sacs, I sort of get that, and I sort of don't, because the way I view puzzle pieces, because again, very much what you were speaking on with our Eisenhower, there are puzzle pieces everywhere and in everything, and there's so little actually that we know about all of those things, all of them. We only know bits and pieces, because even, I've been interested in astrology for years, and it is not anything what a lot of folks think it is. It's so involved and so complex, and all of those sorts of things. Is, for me, has not at all been a cul-de-sac, and I see it as ever evolving as well. And so that's what I was speaking on in terms of understanding certain things. I don't see, that's one of those things for me that I don't see that as a cul-de-sac.
Astrology was a cul-de-sac.
We spoke about that earlier. And
it wasn't a
cul-de-sac. The cul-de-sac was not applied to astrology. I said astrology by itself is like anything. By itself doesn't really do anything. Out of context, it doesn't really do anything. It's in context with the
belief
rest
system.
of you.
Yeah.
The rest of you. It's the planets matter because they're in relation to each other. Same thing with astrology. It's in relation to the other aspects of you. It by itself, in a vacuum, doesn't really tell you a whole lot.
Right.
Well, you're right, and I want to say that for me, I recognize as being part of the all that I also have aspects in every one of those planets, and that's why I view that as a part of my data collection, if you will. You know, I'm very interested in communicating with myself on those levels, and I find all sorts of information there about myself in those levels.
Yeah, I think where it may have been a reference I said earlier about I'm trying to remember what it said, but the concept for me was like anything like Reiki. Let's say I was attuned to Reiki and use it, but if I take Reiki and what I believe about how Reiki works, and I hold on to that belief system and not let that evolve, then that's a cul-de-sac for me.
Oh, absolutely.
Like right now, we are learning different ways that we have different chakras coming online, different ways that they're interacting. And so if I held on to my belief system about what I was taught and what I understand about Reiki, I would cul-de-sac myself and I wouldn't benefit from. And I think that was kind of what maybe I alluded to something about that with astrology, because we now have the 13th sign coming in. Who knows if there's 14, 15. So it's kind of like not getting, and I wasn't suggesting that you were, but not to get too gripped on this is the basis, because I think our physics are changing.
Right. Well, yeah, you kind of covered it in the very beginning for me when you say you have to remain open. I've always said that's the bottom line to everything. Can't rule out anything.
That's right.
Nothing can be ruled out for me anyway. That's you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, being open that's for me is the bottom line. That's the first step.
Yeah, if we learn being open and learning to float. That's what we should entitle it.
Yeah, I mean, really.
I'm just learning the floating part, and I mean, I by no means mastered it. Let's just say that.
It takes a leap of faith.
Yeah.
It takes trust that with the connection between you and your higher self, that everything's going to be okay. That you aren't the brains of the outfit. That you aren't doing all the driving. That your higher self is actually doing the majority of the driving, because our knowledge hasn't come online. It's starting to, and once we more and more knowledge, we'll be more involved in the decision making and the driving. But until then, we've entrusted the driving to the best driver of our shards, and that's our higher self.
And it links right back to our first one of the fabric. If we had all of a sudden all that come online, we'd be out here and everybody, you know,
we'd be loopy.
We're all loopy. All of us would think each other's crazy.
I think that's what we're going to title this one, at least for Conscious Conversation Central. We're all loopy.
There you go.
Get over it. We're all loopy.
Yeah, well, this was fun. And here's the card. So now that we've talked about that, I kind of feel it resonate. Yeah. Definitely.
Yes, that's beautiful.
So.
Yeah, I love that. I love that.
Answering the call.
Yep.
Well, was there anything else that anybody else wanted to add to this particular conversation?
No, I thought it was particularly timely and delicious. So thank you, one and all.
Thank you
for
all.
Playing with me.
So good to see you again and play.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I agree.
Good
Delicious.
to see you guys too. Real glad you didn't get blown away in, that huge storm over there.
Yeah,
that was very suspicious. Just of how it formed, and then where it went, and then where it took a hard right-hand turn and did all the things it was doing. We talked about it. I think it represented negotiations going on between.
You want to
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So between two parties, this storm represented negotiations going on. That's what I felt.
Yeah, because we watched it from the time before it hit the Bahamas, Windy TV versus National Hurricane Center, and it was like,
oh, wait a minute, before
it
Bahamas,
was very interesting.
it was, I mean, if you looked at Puerto Rico, it was east of Puerto Rico, it was headed for it, they thought it was going to hit, and it went right up above and went over it, and then made a beeline for Bahamas. Mm-hmm. And not only, because we were looking at the Bahamas going, I didn't realize there was this much land right off the coast of Florida.
Yeah, look at the map again and see if it looks the same to you now than it used to.
The way it hit the islands, I mean, it's like somebody and they were wiping out some stuff that they didn't want anyone to see.
Plus, it's riding the East Coast all the way up, and it went from a 4 to 3 to 2 to 3 to 2 to 3, 3, 2, 1. I mean, it was like all the way up the coast. It's been crazy. I mean, there was somebody posted here locally a little comedy thing about, you know, the differences of, oh, we're not going to get it. Yeah, we are going to get it. Oh, we're going to get rain. Oh, we're not going to get rain. I mean, it just was bizarre. The whole thing was bizarre. And so it was like, okay, the deal is going well. Oh, it's not going so well. Oh, the deal's going really well. It's not going
so I feel like negotiations were going on, and there were some parts that, you know, because part of any deal is both sides compromising. So I don't know what the final compromise was, but I have a feeling, who knows if we'll know it, but what I do believe is that we're getting ready to know some stuff that has been queued up. Let's just say, you know, that was, if you know what I mean.
I do indeed. And I feel there, when they first started bringing it online, all, you know, and hyping up the fear, specifically in Florida. I grew up in Florida, so I've been in many, many hurricanes. And I also lived in Charleston during Hugo, and of course we had Florence right off the coast here last year. But as soon as this one started, I have felt several things. I felt that, of course, you know, the beginnings of it was Gaia. I think it was pumped up. I feel very certain that you are right. There's been some things queued up and cleared out, actually, which adds to the feeling that you reported being over there on the coast in South Carolina, as the two of you are. You remarked when we first came on, and I don't think we got it on camera, how refreshing and how good it feels over there. And I have to say that my own feeling about it was that it began as something natural, and then yes, it indeed was steered and directed in specific ways, and there were multiple reasons and multiple things accomplished on multiple levels of reality and densities all as well, which is, I feel like, the same that happened really very much so with Florence last year. And I think there's some of it was tied to the clearing out of what was initially perhaps, you know, stirred up over in that area with Florence, actually, because I had that feeling then too. So, and there's a lot of different channelers that are coming up with a lot of different things in regards to this storm in particular. And I'm not sure yet what, and I got a feeling it will present, but I was intrigued by the name of the storm. And what kept coming in for me was the character Dorian Gray. And I don't know why that is.
I'll tell you something funny when we end on the theme of it. But we talked about the fact that, you know, the whole East Coast pretty much was, at least the southern part of the East Coast, was all on state of emergency. You know, so you had that whole, you know, ability to do a variety of things.
There's a lot of things that when you're under a state of emergency, there's a lot of things that go from normal operating mode to now you can utilize these emergency services, and certain people can now get involved, and certain companies
get
come
moved
online.
around. Yeah.
Right.
And the way it happened, I mean, they announced it, you know, it wasn't supposed to be here until like Thursday. Everything closed down like Monday. The mail didn't even run since the Saturday before Labor Day. The post office has been closed. So, which is
Now, that's very interesting intel right there.
never happened.
Yeah.
So there was everything closed. It was just like, and we're going,
What?
but it's not supposed to be here till Thursday. And the evacuation zone was only A. It wasn't even A, B, and C. And it was like, this is odd. I mean, there were so many oddities about the whole thing that it was like dimensions. And based on where you're at, you're going to see different things, and based on what your perspective is. But so, like you said, multidimensional, multifaceted. It's like this storm carried so much energy with it. And depending on where you were, what frequency you were at, you're going to experience it in that way.
And we talked about, we felt that our perspective was they were trying to get anyone and everyone out of the area who could not fend for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone and everyone get out of the system. They gave them plenty of time ahead of time, days and days ahead of time. And then for those that were here, they were basically saying, we're not going to make anything available. So basically it was hunker down in place. It wasn't, you can't go out on the system. It was almost as if certain forces were getting things done on the street that they couldn't get done without a state of emergency and people who would normally be out on the street evacuated.
I mean, Costco was even closed. From Labor Day on, it was like, this is just crazy.
It's interesting to me that you bring it up in that particular fashion, Tim, because over here in several counties, one of which we live in, has been undergoing military exercises.
Yeah, we saw that, yeah.
Robin Sage. And so, you know, that's an interesting name, number one. And for all of that to be coinciding at the same time, I found.
Oh, that's just a coincidence. Come on.
Right.
That Sheila, she's a conspiracy theorist.
Yeah. And then they had the evacuation of like the Newark airport. It was early part of the week. Shut down the airport, rushed everybody out, made them leave their luggage.
Then had no explanation.
I mean, just like panic-stricken, rushed everybody out of the airport. They had to leave their carry-ons and everything at their gates, I mean, in the waiting areas, to get them out of security, and then let them all back in, and they had to go find their bags, and but they never gave them, they said, no, it was just a mistake, or it was
the whole
a security
airport
issue. The whole Newark airport.
Remember what they always say? Have you left your baggage?
Never leave your bag unattended.
So all that was going on,
and all those bags were sitting
major,
in Newark. Yeah.
I mean, it's just unheard of, and then they don't.
That's interesting.
Why.
Yeah. So there was so much going on this past week. It's just been bizarro.
So I'm thinking that before this storm, there were certain things in place that needed to be moved out or modified or whatever. And the storm was a good cover for shifting things around and moving things, because you're less likely to see them. This is what the dark forces used to do during wartime. It allowed them to move human trafficking and whatnot, because they have these logistic trains, supply lines established for war, so no one would question it. But now they have to find new and creative ways of doing it. Now, what were the dark hats doing? What were the gray hats doing? I don't know. I'm not involved in it, so they're not getting my energy, and I don't need to understand it.
Which is nice.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
We're just noting it and going like, this is interesting.
I'm maximizing my observer status And as soon as I feel the need to understand, I cut it off. I go, okay, wait a minute. You're not understanding your observer role. Your observer role is to pick up data.
Mm-hmm.
It is not to sit there and try to understand all the data points. Because once you start trying to understand it, you've now gone into a different mode. You're now in analysis mode, and you're not right for being an observer anymore.
Yeah, you're not still collecting,
Right, because if you're observing and you're in analysis mode, you've now changed your slant.
Mm-hmm.
It's like being biased. If you're analysis, you're biased towards analysis. So things that are already fitting your early stage of your analysis, you will skew your view to that because we want to get things accomplished.
Even though you don't realize you do it.
Right.
Yeah.
So the best thing to do to be a good observer is to not have an opinion at all.
Yeah.
That's the best way you will get the cleanest data if you are unbiased.
Correct.
And have an opinion.
Yeah.
But it's hard to do.
It is hard to do because we're pattern matchers.
Because we're pattern matchers. We want to do the puzzle.
Yeah.
So
that's good.
Freely admit that as a puzzle piece collector.
Yeah.
I enjoy it.
Yeah.
My jam.
It's fun.
But
I really loved hanging out with you guys.
Yeah. But I actually, to conclude that whole thing about the hurricane, now that the energy has moved out, I actually think now we've gone from we were in this condition and it was kind of not stable ground for, let's just say it, I'll just collectively call it disclosure.
Okay.
Whatever
you call that. We were not really stable ground. After the storm, I'm not saying we're on completely stable ground, but it affected the whole coast. Mm-hmm. So think about it. That's where the majority of our population is. I think we've gone from this to now we're on much more level ground. I'm not going to say it's all so stable, but compared to where we were,
we're making progress.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, certain elements have been plucked out of their cushy status quo things, and now their energy are not affecting the let's just say the global energy.
Plus, I think there's a lot of testing going. They wore out our notification system on our cell phones. I mean,
we were getting 3 for
it was like get out of the area. One of them was it was days before.
No, it actually said get out now with 3 exclamation points.
And it was on Monday.
It was on Monday. The storm didn't hit here until Thursday.
It was just like the weather. But
that's quite interesting.
Yeah.
Isn't it though?
Yeah, we got it 3 times.
Boom, boom, boom.
She got it 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
And we were, I told her, I noticed, I don't use my phone very often. The only person I tweet to really is her. And other than that, I don't really use my phone very much. So I pretty much know what my power usage is. And when I go to plug my phone in at night, I'm rarely, if ever, down below 90% power. Okay? Well, during the storm, I was getting warnings that I was
low battery,
down below 15%.
Within one day.
Within one day.
And mine was doing the same thing. It was depleting the battery.
And I wasn't using it. I wasn't contacting people. I was using it the same way I've been using it.
Actually less because I was here.
So what I think they were doing is pinging our phone to find out where we are and who's still in the area and to get a sense of it. Plus, they definitely were overutilizing the emergency broadcast system.
Yeah, it was crazy.
That's interesting. I've never heard of an emergency broadcast system that said, get out now.
Evacuation points. And we weren't even in the evacuation area and it was days ahead. It was like, what?
Wow. I'm sorry. That's a
heart attack.
On me.
Something a poltergeist would say.
Yes.
I went out to get produce.
Too bad we can't stay, baby.
Yeah.
That's Eddie Murphy. Eddie Murphy did a routine on that about haunted houses. Yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
But I went to the produce stand and the lady that was there said that there were some people that were trying, like in town for vacation. She said it totally freaked them out because they were like,
I bet it did. Yeah, man. you know, and if that's the beach week you've chosen and paid for a year in advance, that's really, I'm sorry.
But the good thing is you got activated.
That storm did so many things.
Yeah, it's so much lighter here now that
I bet
storm has moved through.
Yeah, the gift that keeps giving. But not to say some people didn't have, you know, traumas.
Oh, I'm sure.
But they, well, like I said, you experienced it the way
You needed to.
The way
well, it is. I was thinking of this storm as our magical bowl of guacamole. You're going to get what you need to get when you go for your dip.
That's right. It's going to be spicy.
Might be the same bowl, but it's quite an individual experience, is it not?
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Beautiful way to end it, Lisa. Thank you. That was
Yes.
good.
Well, because that really applies to everything, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's your
The
attitude.
whole name of the game, you know, coming into singularity.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep, your attitude will determine how hard things hit.
Mm-hmm.
You're right. Yeah. Yes.
Well, thank you guys for coming and playing with us. This has really been fun.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was blessed.
It was good. Yeah.
And of course, we'll have, and now Gina, you're still doing your virtual cup of coffee community group, correct?
I do that on Wednesday nights still, the calls. And then we have the StarDragonBrood channel. And if you're, you know, if anybody's interested in watching those or reaching out to us, you know, we'll have the contact information there.
Yeah, and we're you know, more and more people are inquiring at least about doing videos with us. So we want to make sure they're ready. We're not going to let you do a video until you're, you know,
you're ready
till
for
you're
us.
ready and you feel it and whatnot. So we take that, I was going to say serious, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, we take your
respect
comfort
Yeah.
seriously.
Yeah.
So we're not going to do a whine before it's time.
Yeah. And we're doing kind of different things with the channel too, just as an aside. We have our conversations, and then I'm doing a series on a variety of different tools, modalities, ways that people have helped themselves kind of evolve through this. So I was led that there's so much that, you know, we experience, and it might work for this person or that person as a way to bump them through or to jostle them, you know, out of the paradigm they're in. So I've been highlighting some of those things, like some sound healing and, you know, Reiki meditation. So there'll be some of those on
to
the
break
channel
it down,
as well.
to break it down so people understand why, like,
why
would I do sound healing, and who would I contact about doing that, and how does it work? It's that approach.
Yeah. Where can I go to find more
Well, you
information?
know, what is QHHT?
Yeah.
How does that work?
Yeah, I really enjoyed your conversation in regards to QHHT. That's great. I've been very, very interested in that myself. So
Yeah.
thank you for doing that conversation.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Gina.
Yeah, you're welcome. If there's topics you guys are interested in, you all or the ones watching, you know, send them to me and I'll find somebody
Okay.
I don't know, and I'll have
And I'll begin ignoring them right away. I mean, working on them right away.
And so we'll have links to StarDragonBrood and to information in regards to how you can get in touch with Gina in regards to the virtual cup of coffee community group that she has every Wednesday night in Zoom. And so we'll have all those links there for you to get in touch with everyone, including how to get in touch with Lisa and myself. And I would encourage everyone, please, if you have not already, to subscribe to Conscious Conversation Central. And don't forget to hit that notification bell. That way you'll be notified when new videos are updated. And please pay no attention to Tim.
I'm loopy.
He's loopy.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Much love.
Until next time.
Until next time.
Bye.